I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners for June 21st, 2016. I invite you to stand with me if you choose as Commissioner Perigin offers our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for this day and for these community leaders gathered here. Help and guide our decisions for the betterment of our community. Please be with those family and friends in Orlando, Florida, as our nation and world mourns the recent tragedies. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Hill,
here.
Commissioner Perigin, Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Denning,
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Here. Under awards and recognitions tonight, we have a very special opportunity to view something that's occurred within in-house, but with some very special care and talent. And Mr. DeFebo, I think you'd like to make this presentation.
I think actually Kim Lancaster is going to speak on my behalf.
I'm sorry, you
She
didn't-
and Kate and others organized it, and I was just the one that said okay.
Great, thanks.
Good afternoon. Thank you all. As many of you know, during the 2015 year, City Hall and the Commission Chamber received a lot of renovations to it. Once the renovations were complete, staff felt as though there might be a little something missing from this room. It was very functional and beautifully done, but we wanted to see some color and we wanted to see something that reflected Bowling Green in this room. The city commissioned city arborist and artist Jay Doherty to come up with a design that kind of captured the essence of Bowling Green. Jay is here tonight. If you'd like to just wave a hand or say hi.
Come on up, Jay.
Come on up.
You can't hide back there. Come on up. Come on up. You're not going to hide in the back of the room.
Oh,
now.
wow. This is Jay Doherty. He did the mural for us, and it's with great pleasure tonight that we are able to say thank you to him for his hours and hours of hard work on this. He designed this, he created this, and it took a significant amount of time and effort from Jay. So we are very pleased to be able to have this lasting piece of artwork in our building, and we're proud to officially display our downtown mural tonight. So thank you, Jay, very much for all of your work.
Thank you.
I will be posting the mural on Facebook and Twitter and the website as well, so everyone can see it. So, thank you all.
Hey, we see how talented you are. I'd commissioned Jay to do a carving on a violin that I gave my wife a few years back, and we know what kind of talent you have, not only in this area, but in what you do here for the city, and we so appreciate your work and your interest in making this such a good place. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
How long did it take you?
6 months, about 360 hours, and a lot of that, I should say thank you to my daughter for all the hours she's spent sitting up here playing on her iPhone.
Is she the one that made the?
I've got those names here just to make sure I don't miss anybody. We have a little reception going on with some special food up here prepared by Anshira Asadi, Rose and Samad Deeb, and of course your daughter Margaret. And this is harissa, as I understand, an Egyptian dish, Egyptian dessert. Is that correct? Yes. There she is way in the back. Thank you so much for doing that tonight. We were just a little bit late getting started because we were all taking a little piece, but make sure that you get some before you leave this evening. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else under awards and recognitions? Okay. Mr. DeFebo, I think our first item is a public hearing, which is for the purpose of reviewing the proposed use of municipal aid program, the liquid fuel tax funds, and coal severance and processing tax and mineral severance tax funds.
As the commission knows, the state of Kentucky passes certain funds on to the locals. Those three funds, the liquid fuels, coal severance, and mineral severance taxes, are subject to a public hearing. Melissa Kanzler from Public Works Department is here to present and lead in the public hearing. Melissa?
Thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight to discuss, conduct this public hearing and share with you the proposed expenditures for the LFT or the municipal aid tax and coal mineral severance revenue from the state. First of all, the liquid fuel tax, as it's often called, LFT, are based on taxes received from each gallon of gas sold in the state. The state then distributes this money back to the communities with the intent to improve our roadway network. To summarize briefly our fund activity, the current balance is $1,148,784. That's today. As every year we get money from the state, the revenue, and the projected revenue for FY17 is approximately $1,470,000. We're proposing to add an additional $800,000 from general fund to this, to supplement this, for a total of $2,270,000, which is much more than we've had in the recent past. We propose expenditures to total $2,110,000, and these expenses, as with every year, are related to our annual paving project and our annual sidewalk rehab project. And those numbers are up on the screen, proposing $2 million for resurfacing and $110,000 for sidewalk rehab, leaving us with a balance at the end of FY17 of approximately $1,308,784. The FY17 street resurfacing or overlay, as we often call it, we're proposing, and again, this is very preliminary, 21 miles of street paving. This far exceeds what we've done in the past for a couple of different reasons. We're $2 million as opposed to 1.5 last year, and prices were much lower that we assumed based on the current bid prices and also what we're seeing in the market right now with asphalt. We are not proposing an increase in the current year. We held those numbers assuming that they would stay low from talks with some local contractors. And also, the list you have in front of you, we're refining in the field, looking at the condition more in depth. If we have to do a lot of dig outs and repair rather than just a simple overlay, obviously that'll cost more and decrease our miles of paving. But we're also working with utility companies currently, and within the next 2 weeks should know more if they have projects that may delay some of these segments that you have in front of you. Obviously, if they know they have a line replacement, we want to hold on paving until they're finished. So we do oftentimes have that happen. So it'll change that list somewhat for the bid documents, and when we award that contract, we'll bring that final list back to you for review and also have that out on our website. Also with the LFT money, we do our annual sidewalk reconstruction project, and this year we're looking at Butler Way. Butler Way is actually, and this is hard to see, is located between College View and the backside of Dishman McGinnis, the new school. There's existing sidewalk there, but it's very narrow, in disrepair. There's missing segments. There are a whole lot of drainage problems along that stretch, a lot of ponding water. So we propose to use that money this year for Butler Way. Depending on what we find in the design, we may have to use some out-year funds to finish that project, which we did with College View. But I think we got a good project with that, and this will connect to that project. Of this sidewalk reconstruction money, we also dedicate $10,000 to our operations for materials to do in-house repairs, spot repairs across town. The second revenue source from the state is called the Coal and Mineral Severance Tax. This is a tax the state puts on coal and mineral haulers throughout the state, and Warren County qualifies to receive that money because they are considered an impacted county. These funds also are to be used for transportation-related activities. The fund activity there is, currently the balance is roughly $39,283. We project revenue sources of about $30,000, leaving us with $69,283. We don't show any expenditures proposed, but that doesn't mean that we don't anticipate use of this fund. Typically in the past, we've used it for roadway safety improvements, some sidewalk improvements, and most recently on a regular basis, we use it for de-icer in the winter. So those funds are kind of reserved for those type of activities, which are kind of on an as-needed basis. With that, do you have any questions on either of these two revenue sources?
This that you have in the back of your memo
Yes.
is the street paving list. Is that in order, or is that just alphabetical?
No, that's alphabetical. What we do, just in brief, our pavement management software kicks out, I'll have it kick out like a 5-year projection. And it's fairly close. Obviously, we still go out and look at all those segments. I go straight to the segments that are considered year 1 need, and I look around them to see if there's any year 2, year 3 that could maybe complete a project. So you won't do one segment of a roadway, skip a segment, do another segment. We try to make it complete. If we have to back off of this list, we will look at those segments that fell in years 2 and 3, not the ones that fell in year 1. So we have that information in front of us, so if we need to come off that, we have that list handy. Again, this is a lot more mileage. I was a little shocked that it was. We triple-checked it. A lot of the staff in the office has helped us go out and inspect and measure, and we're refining that as we speak, and the utility companies are working on it right now. So I'm certain some of those will get pushed, but we have others in the waiting, of course, to go on that list if they do.
We do have our lists on our websites too, so.
We will have when it's finalized. We haven't put that one on there. The current year, FY16, is out there. That project is about 50% complete. I guess people have noticed things popping up, getting paved. They're moving quickly. Also, with that money, we have to look at adjacent handicap ramps or lack thereof. It's a federal mandate. So anytime you do a project along a street, if the adjacent access is not to ADA standard, we have to replace those. So we've added the past few years a significant number of handicap ramps to be rebuilt as part of the overlay project. So when conditions aren't suitable, say middle of winter, if this were to happen, I don't anticipate that this year because we hope to have this list done by December. But they could do handicap ramps in the off-season for paving.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Tanner. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Febo, city manager comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. There'll be a need for an executive session. Kate will read the reasons.
Pursuant to KRS 61810C for discussions of proposed and pending litigation against the city of Bowling Green.
So move.
Second.
By Hill, second by Perigin. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Any other comments, Mr. Febo?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Items approval of minutes from our regular meeting on June 7th, 2016.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Any discussion or corrections? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
We have a public comment section for people who would like to make a comment to the city commission on an item that's not on tonight's agenda. This would be the time if anybody wanted to step forward. Yes, sir? Yes, ma'am. Would you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Jennifer Moreland, and my address is 2132 Rock Creek Road.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to say thank you for doing something that's incredible 2 years ago. And you stood up and you said that bars have the right to sell alcohol on Sunday, the blue law. Well, thank you for that, because what you did is you helped the government to make money, the bars to give back, and the government makes money because of that. So thank you for that. And also, it's really, the blue law is really unconstitutional, and it's not right. So thank you for standing up and say that bars have the right to do that. Thank you for that. Also, I want to thank you for, I'm establishing a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society, and I don't have to have a permit, so thank you for that, because it's a good cause, And thank you for being not, you have to pay a permit, so thank you for that. Okay, another thing, what I'm doing is I'm actually just seeing this. It's just an idea, but I really want bars to have the freedom to have a smoking room. And it sounds weird, you're like, well, it can't, why? But because of the fact that people should have the right to smoke, and a room give the bars a chance to have freedom to choose to have a room or not a room. See, that's what I mean. And you stood up 3 years ago for the bars, and you said, no more blue laws or anything like that. So I just would like for you to see if you would put it on your agenda and stand up there. So, but I know I'm asking a lot, but it would be kind of what you're saying is bars have freedom to choose. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moreland, we appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir, and your name and address, please.
Afternoon. My name is Ryan Fulkerson. I live at 628 East 13th Avenue. And I'm here tonight to speak in support of the Fairness Ordinance. Would all those who support fairness please stand? I'm not the first person to come to City Hall to voice my belief that we should live in a city where all of our residents are granted equal protection of the law, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. I've heard impassioned pleas from those who worry they could lose their job because they are gay, from a mother whose son is unlikely to return to Bowling Green when he finishes serving his nation in Afghanistan because of lack of legal protections, and from allies of the LGBT community who want to live in a city free of discrimination. Unfortunately, all of these eloquent expressions have fallen on deaf ears. The Commission, in fact, showed how unimportant the rights of the LGBT community are to them by not even bothering to issue a response. I do not think I hold the magic words that will make you address this issue. While it should be obvious that it is wrong for it to be legal to fire or evict someone because of their sexual orientation, apparently this commission thinks it's okay that a gay man who shows up to work every day and does an excellent job could be fired, or a lesbian woman who pays her rent on time and maintains her home be evicted simply because of their sexual orientation. So today I would like to raise another side of this issue. Bowling Green is a growing city and economy. If you wish for this growth to continue and to attract well-paying, skilled jobs, then you need to realize national corporations are no longer interested in doing business in discriminatory locales. Companies such as Disney, General Electric, Pepsi, and Hyatt have declared they would no longer do business or boycott places like Indiana, Georgia, and North Carolina if they discriminate against the LGBT community. So I ask, is your desire to allow discrimination such that you would be willing to sacrifice economic advancement and growth just so LGBT residents can be discriminated against? I will leave you with one last thought. You can delay protections for the LGBT community, but you will not prevent them. Those of us who support fairness will continue to be here, continue to make our voices heard, and continue to work until a fairness ordinance is passed. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, first item is the second reading of ordinance BG 2016-18.
Ordinance adopting annual city budget, ordinance adopting the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016 and ending June 30, 2017 by estimating revenues and appropriating funds for the operation of city government.
So move.
Second.
I'll second by Denny.
Yeah.
Add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we're passing the second reading of the annual budget. We start this process a little after the first of the year, involving not only our employees, but our senior management group, as well as outside agencies. This is vetted through what is known as a budget team that helps put together a recommendation, and it comes before the city commission and culminates in 2 readings. Tonight is the second reading. As we said last meeting, this budget is good for the taxpayers of this community, as well as good for our future, as it provides additional revenues for paving, as well as much-needed projects for the community. We recommend your approval.
Comments or discussion about the budget? I think, again, you've done an outstanding job in managing our revenues and controlling our expenditures to such a point that I think people are very pleased at what we're able to do here with the limited
We're able
funds.
to form a good team to do that.
Mr. Febo mentioned on our first reading, and certainly we need to mention it tonight, that there is no increase in city taxes for the citizens of the city of Bowling Green. And this has been the case for, Jeff, how many years?
14?
Last 14 years that we have not raised the city taxes. You don't hear that in this day and time in very many places. But due to the city manager and his staff, over those years, we have been able to pay our bills and do those things that we have to do as a city without raising city taxes. Great job.
Call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of ordinance BG 2016-19.
Ordinance relating to classification pay schedules. Ordinance amending the classification pay schedules G for general classified, S for protective sworn, D for department head management, and U for unclassified part-time employees, and authorizing pay increases for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Second by Perigin. You have
Just a small comment. We wouldn't be able to do the work of the people without the work of our dedicated and talented employees. This particular ordinance recognizes their contribution by providing a modest increase, as well as a merit increase for those who are entitled. We recommend your approval.
comments or questions? Call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-107.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Courtney W. Howell to the position of Office Associate in the Public Works Department.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by, was it Denny? Was that you?
It was me.
Williams. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. A number of years ago in the Public Works Department, we had 2 persons that worked as in the office to help with the administration. During our tough times, we had to reduce that to 1. The last principal in that role was actually Tiger Tooley a number of years ago. As our finances improved, we thought appropriate to finance this position at its former level, which is a full-time permanent position. And the incumbent in that temporary position was Courtney Howe. We feel that she has the skills as well as the motivation to continue the excellent work that Tiger did there, and we recommend your approval. I believe Courtney is here.
Courtney is here and is going to stand so we can all congratulate her. I hope you're listening to Laura well, you'll do a long term there. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes.
Municipal Order 2016-108.
Municipal order accepting proposal from HM Life Insurance Company for employee health care specific stop-loss insurance coverage for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Hill, second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
Mayor, with the courtesy of the commission, I would ask Michael Grubbs to come up and to respond and answer any questions that the commission may have on Municipal Order 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Mike and 10. Mike is, bless you, Mike is prepared to answer any and all questions and probably be the appropriate person to respond for staff. We can do one at a time, and Mike can respond if you like. Okay.
First one's on HM Life Insurance. Did you read it? Comments or questions for Mr.? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it can be for all of them, Mike. Did we have any local companies submit proposals or offer bids? Or can any local companies provide these services for us?
The stop-loss insurance, those are specific companies in that particular market, and they're national companies. There aren't any local insurance companies that I'm aware of that would offer stop-loss coverage, but we did obtain initial quotes from about a dozen companies and then narrowed it down.
Questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-109.
Municipal order authorizing insurance premium payments to the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services for insurance coverages of general liability, public officials liability, law enforcement liability, automobile liability, and physical damage, property, and workers' compensation for fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second.
I second it.
Mr. Febo, any comments
Thank
on
you,
this?
Mayor. Again, Michael's here. This is, this particular insurance provides the bulk of the insurance for the city. We are part of a consortium with KLC. I myself am a member of that board. We're asking you to approve our continued participation. This saves us about $65,000 from last year's cost. Mike is here to explain the nuance if you have any questions.
Comments or questions on our general liability coverage? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-110.
Municipal order authorizing insurance premium payments to the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services for insurance coverages of general liability, public officials' errors and omissions, buildings and property, and business automobile for the Convention Center Corporation for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Bill, second by Perigin. This is
I'll defer to Mike since he's executive director of the Convention Center and works with the Convention Center Board, who I believe agreed to this earlier.
The Convention Center Board has also had us insurance for the Sloan Convention Center with Kentucky League of Cities for about 14 years. We've continued to use them because they provide service to the city. Our premium this coming year is going to be about $37,250, which is a very slight increase over this past year, and it's less than the $40,000 that we budgeted, and it's actually less than what we paid in insurance 3 or 4 years ago, so I recommend approval.
comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill. Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Denning has stepped out. Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-111.
Municipal order authorizing continuation of an agreement with Resource Management Associates for promotional testing services for the fire department and amending the agreement to include promotional testing services for the police department for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. As the commission knows, we've made some changes in how we approach testing for our police department as far as starting testing. We're here tonight to work an agreement for promotional testing for fire and police. It might be appropriate for Mike to give you the nuance of this testing, since it's important and germane to our ability to attract qualified candidates for leadership. Michael?
Our adopted promotional procedures provide that we do annual testing for both the police and fire departments for all ranks, from sergeant up to deputy chief. We then establish an eligible list from which any promotions can occur during the year. It involves a written test and then also generally an oral interview or an assessment center. For our fire apparatus operators, that's an internally administered skills test using the equipment. We have contracted with different testing companies for many years to provide the written testing and also the oral interview and assessment centers. We last bid it out in 2008. Police Department decided to stay with McCann Associates. Police decided to go with Resource Management Associates for promotional testing. We've been very happy with RMA with their work over the last several years with the fire department. And my recommendation is that we go ahead and move to them to do police promotionals. They have a lot of experience working with police departments. In fact, they've already worked on our job task analysis to update it for us because their cost was a lot less than McCann's was. So the recommendation is to use RMA next year for both services. In the past, we've been able to approve this administratively because the cost was less than $25,000, but by doing both with one company, that's why it's being brought to you this year.
Just in paragraph 3 where it says McCann Associates.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
in
confused.
2000
R&M is taking the place of McCann, period?
Yes, but we're not doing any entry-level written testing with McCann, but we still use McCann for our promotional testing, and this would replace McCann. McCann would no longer be working for us, and the work we would have done is with RMA to do the promotional testing.
Well, that's what I thought you said, but it looks to me like it's reading that we're continuing with McCann on paragraph 3 on the municipal order.
Well, I'm referring back, I can see the confusion, but in 2008, at that time, the police department decided to stay with McCann for both entry-level and promotional testing. And we stayed with McCann until this past year for that. But this recommendation just has to do with promotional testing. We have a different company that does entry-level testing for fire. And at this time, there's no recommendation to do entry-level testing for police.
And it's all with R&M.
Pardon me?
And it's all with R&M. Resource
RMA, yes.
RMA, excuse
Yep.
me.
All promotional testing would be with RMA if you approve this.
Okay. I read it, and
I
we talked
understand.
about it, and I read it again, it sounded different to
I
me.
probably gave too much past history that wasn't needed and confused things.
I understand. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-112.
Municipal order authorizing the continuation of an agreement with Cheryl D. Morgan and Associates for healthcare consultant services for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Bill, second by Perigin. Mr. Phil.
As the commission knows, we made substantial changes and improvements in the viability of our health insurance. We did that with our employee health committee as well as with the experience and knowledge of Cheryl Morgan. We're here tonight to ask you to continue our relationship with them. One of the crowning jewels of their involvement with us this year was the planning and bringing to operation our employee health clinic. Mike is here to answer any questions about the actual agreement.
Comments or questions?
If you'll explain to our citizens, will this go out to bid again next year, or did it go out to bid this time? And once
No.
again, my comment's going to be, why is it not local? Why are we buying not only out of town, but out of state? So if you could explain that, please.
Okay. Well, they're actually located in Covington, so they're not quite out of
Okay.
state, but Northern Kentucky is almost another state.
Yes.
We did put this out for bid a few years ago. They had agreed to a 5-year lock on rates. So if approved, this will be the 4th year. As long as service is really good and we're pleased with what we're doing, I don't know that we would put it out for bid next year, but that's always your direction. But obviously, once the 5th year is up, they understand that we could put it out to bid at any year. One reason not this year is they were very instrumental in helping us get our Employee Health Center open, which has started in January. They spent a lot of work with us on that. And obviously, we want to see the fruits of that as they help us analyze our return on investment. As indicated with the previous agreement or municipal order on the stop-loss insurance, they've helped us negotiate a very tough year with a premium increase of only 5%, whereas we had budgeted 50%. So we're very pleased with the help they gave us on negotiating and bidding out the stop-loss insurance. But again, this is something that can be bid out each time. But we use them as a consultant more than an insurance broker, and I think that's what some people don't understand all the time is the stop-loss insurance is the only insurance that they're actually helping us with, but on the other hand, they're providing consulting services, helping us understand all the changes due to the Affordable Care Act, all the requirements relating to that, and of course, helping us with the City Care Center. So there's quite a bit more to it than just bidding out insurance.
But so this is the 4th year, so next year would be their final year, then it would go to bid possibly?
Well, if we have good service, we probably would be back to you next year at the same time saying, here's the 5th year, there's no rate increase. Obviously, if we receive direction from you between now and January, that you want to bid out again, we will do that. But certainly, after year 5, there's no reason why we wouldn't bid out again.
Our protocol seems to be for right order to bid out every so often.
So,
We're always balancing continuity with the right order of allowing new people to participate. So 5 years is probably when we would go out to bid.
so this time next year would probably be the same thing, but then the following year put it out to bid?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-113.
Municipal order authorizing the continuation of an agreement with Care Here PLLC for administering employee on-site medical clinic services for fiscal year 2017.
Second.
By Hill, second by Perigin. Mr.
Thank you, Mayor. Care Here provides a type of model that we use for our employee on-site medical clinic. This is the 2nd year of our participation with them, and we're happy with their service. And it might be appropriate this time, and Mikey take you around the block quickly about how well our clinic is doing and our percentage of participation. Michael?
We're open with the doctor 16 hours a week, and there's 4 additional hours with the nurse who can do blood draws and other administrative work. We're typically running 70 to 73% utilization right now, which our model where we're hoping to break even is in the ballpark of 50%. So, of course, we're just finishing 5 months with it open, so it's a little early to brag and say, oh, we're saving you buckets of money. But we're very positive right now about the experience we're having, and once we've had at least 6 months, we want to be able to review some return on investment information and get that to you. We signed a contract with them in July last year, but of course we had to build out the facility. We opened it January 15th, so we've only had 5+ months of actual experience, and that's why we're asking you to renew again for another year. They are not raising their administrative fee, and the hourly rate that we pay the providers will not change for the next 12 months. So we're very comfortable in recommending to you approval for another year.
How many hours do we have a doctor?
16 hours a week.
The doctor is there 16 hours a week?
Yes. We're open right now Monday morning, Wednesday afternoon, and Friday morning. And then the nurse has some hours on Tuesday.
Is there patient feedback gathered?
That's a good question.
Anecdotally.
Yeah, I mean, we get comments, but there isn't a formal report that we get.
Anecdotally also, I'm
Anecdotal-
assuming it's
well,
positive.
We had some problems initially. The nurse had, not all nurses draw blood regularly, and we had some problems with the nurse drawing blood consistently on the first draw. We asked that she be replaced, and they have hired, we do have a new nurse. I hate to say that publicly, but that was the big problem that we had. So we had to replace the nurse. But so far, people are very pleased with the doctors that we've had. Care Here does have other doctors employed, like if our doctor is on vacation, they have other doctors they can bring in. Same way with nurse. When the nurse is not available or we sent the first nurse out for training, they have others that they'll bring in from clinics they have in northern Tennessee, northern middle Tennessee. But people are generally very happy with the short wait time. Anecdotally, I took, for some reason, our office gets their packages for them when they're not there. And I took some packages over last Friday, and they didn't have any patients at the moment. I just asked about a refill for my medication. I ended up getting blood pressure. I got worked up, and I was just there to drop something off. So, and got my refill tube. So, generally, that's worked really well.
I'd like to comment, Mike. I'd like to say great job. I have used the facility, and you're right. I didn't even get seated in the lobby, and I was called back. I can't say enough good things, and I will say publicly, I'm the biggest chicken when it comes to blood draws. They were wonderful. No complaints. I'm so impressed with the facility.
I was glad when you told me in the parking lot that morning because sometimes that sounded like the exception of what we were
Yes,
hearing.
it was wonderful. So thank you very much, and hats off to everyone there. It's a great job. But now I have to ask my other question, because you can tell I get a lot of calls regarding this. As you know, when we first announced this was open, received some phone calls, why wasn't anyone locally notified? And I believe you talked to that physician, but once again, were any local companies, did we even offer this to them, or did we just automatically roll it over?
No, it was put out to public bid, and we did have a local provider submit a proposal, but it was not to operate an on-site clinic for us. Their proposal was that we go there, and they would charge us a lower fee, nor could they provide us any pharmacy savings. And that's one of our big savings is we have a dispensary where we have almost 200 generic medications, non-narcotic. They could not offer that to us. They submitted a proposal, but it didn't meet our specifications. So yes, it was put out for public proposal.
I thought this company was local. This company here that we have now is not.
Their headquarters is Brentwood, Tennessee. But they operate clinics. They have about 200 clinics, but their headquarters is in Brentwood, not Bowling Green.
Is the doctor a local doctor
Yes.
or a Tennessee doctor?
No, she lives here. Her husband teaches at Western.
Roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-114.
Municipal order authorizing the continuation of an agreement with Meritain Health Incorporated relating to employee health and third-party administrator services for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
Bill, second by Williams. Mr. DeFebo.
As the commission is reminded, we are independent in which we are self-insured, and we use a third-party administrator to do the claim work. We're here tonight to ask you to continue an agreement we have with Meritain. We will tell you directly, we're in a process of reviewing some points of that relationship, but we're tonight asking you to continue it, to approve it for another year and as we work out those issues. Michael is here if you want to have any questions about the actual contract.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-115.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting negotiations after sealed bidding for bid number 2016-44 for the purchase of concrete through non-competitive negotiations from Kenway Concrete of Kentucky LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky for designated unit prices per cubic yard.
So move.
Second.
Bill second by Perigin, Mr. DeFebo.
As the commission can imagine, we use a good bit of concrete throughout the city for repairs and projects. We went out to bid for concrete, and we received no formal bids. That doesn't waive our need for concrete. So what we did was, pursuant to the purchasing law, we were allowed to contact people who sell the product. We can get quotes and proposals from them. We received two, one from IMI and one from Kenway. Bobby Phelps and his staff vetted the proposals, and it's their recommendation that we continue with Kenway of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Greg Meredith, our new Public Works Director, if you have any questions.
Questions? I'm watching us and thanking us for the votes. Anything you'd like to add? Nope.
Greg is anxious to take part in one of our meetings.
Yes.
Okay, it's good to be here. Thank you so much. Any questions? Thanks, guys. Let me know if you need.
Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-116.
Municipal order accepting the Intermodal Transportation Authority Incorporated fiscal year 2017 operating budget and financial statements ending June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. I can take you back in history a little bit. When the city of Bowling Green decided to issue a general obligation bond in partnership with the Warren County, one of the stipulations of us undertaking that bond is that Intermodal Transportation Authority provide to you a financial report every year. Prior to that period, that wasn't done on a consistent basis. Tonight, we have Meredith Robinson, one of the Chief Executive Officer, who will make the presentation to you.
Robinson.
Good evening, how are you? Thank you for the time to come talk to you tonight. We've got a lot of great news, and we want to thank you very much for the partnership with the city. Without your help, everything we're about to talk about would not be possible. So first, I will call attention, oops, let's get to the map. If you look at the map, for those that have been following with us over the years, there's a lot more gray on there than there is green. We are running out of property, which is a good problem to have. So a couple of big announcements, just to point to your attention, you'll see sort of over to the right of the connector road, the large gray area that's pointed right here, that's Bilstein. If you haven't been out to the Trans Park lately, I would say take a drive out there. It is going vertical. It looks amazing. It's going to be a huge facility. You obviously can't miss the huge white building that is now Constellium UACJ. They will be doing a grand opening in September, an open house for the community. So we will get that on your schedule so that you can come out and tour that facility. It is really quite something to see. And then the next item we hope to turn gray down here at the end of Technology Way is Spec Building 6. This one will be complete the end of this week, beginning of next week. And we've got a couple of prospects that are looking at that one. So we are, as an ITA board, in the process of doing diligence on 2 other lots to make them certified build ready. So we're doing all the geotech, geophysical work, grading 208,000 square foot pads, one on each lot. So they will be certified build ready on the state site, and as soon as we sell Spec 6, we will start on Spec 7 with our partnership with the EDA. So lots of exciting construction going on out there, and we learned today at the utility managers meeting that next June or July, we'll be celebrating the grand opening of the I-65 connector road on the Trans Park, so that will be huge. Annual wage assessment income, this is our trajectory. This year we will hit almost $1.8 million in wage assessment out there, great growth for the jobs that are being created. You'll notice that for 2017 I've actually projected conservatively a decrease. The reason for that is because the majority of the construction related to the connector road that occurs in the sort of Transpark footprint will now shift to be below the Transpark between I-65 and Kelly Road, and so that won't incur the wage assessment tax. But the companies, Castilian will start ramping up. Bilstein won't be quite ready to hire in volume in 2017, but we expect that to go back up in 2018. Budgeted revenues, just a few items to note as far as fluctuations. One, again, I just explained the sort of conservative budgeting related to the wage assessment income. Hopefully I'll come back and tell you that I way underestimated, but I'd rather come back and do that. On rental income, that is budgeted to decrease due to the fact that we're selling a couple of outlying houses that the ITA currently owns and is renting. And additionally, the farm lease income is decreasing due to the fact that obviously we're building on more land, so we're having to cancel those farm leases. This year, we had grant income. The 1.55 is related to Commonwealth Extension. If you'll recall, when we did the Bilstein deal, we cut a deal with the state for them to come in and provide the funding for the extension of that road. That would have been an expense that the ITA would have had to incur otherwise. So that was a great incentive package for us to help land that project with state funds. And then other income in the prior 2 years, that's roughly $1 million, was related to the economic development bond, again, an incentive for Bilstein. It was a pass-through in and out with the ITA, and it is now complete. Operating expenditures. The green line was what was forecasted when the park was originally contemplated. The blue line has been actual, and we have tried to keep to that $450,000 floor. This year, we've been asked by the city to take over the mowing maintenance that the city had been doing in the Transpark for us. So we've agreed to take that back on, so that's why our expenses are projected to be up slightly in 2017. On the expense side of the budget, again, just a couple items to note. The increase in management fee as per our contract with the city and the county is the 3% annual increase. Professional fees, we do expect there to be a decrease since the major legal work related to Bilstein and Quiver is wrapping up. And also in the current fiscal year, we did aerial mapping of all the lots that are left in the park so that we have really good contour information to provide to prospects. That's a one-time expense. We won't have that going forward. And then you'll see that increase there in property maintenance, and that's related to the mowing. We increased the budget based on the estimates that the city received. You guys put out a bid before we agreed to take it on. We've actually, since this budget was approved, negotiated a deal with Operation Pride. We're very excited about the partnership with them to take over the mowing out at the Transpark, and so we actually expect a savings from what we budgeted in the current year. Overall, for the last calendar year, we had a great year. Projects just within Bowling Green and Warren County, we had $896 million in capital investment and 976 jobs. We did a total of $934 million, but some of them were in outlying counties. And then so far for this current year, we're at $62 million in capital investment and 120 jobs. But Friday, we will blow this number out of the water. So stay tuned. But I'm happy to take any questions. And again, we greatly appreciate our partnership with the city, both for Ms. Hill and for Kevin and for Jeff that sit on the ITA board, and the support of everyone. Anytime we have a prospect in town, all the departments of the city, we couldn't ask for a better group, from Public Works to Planning and Zoning, all across the board. It's a great place.
If you would you go back to your first map showing all the property sold and property still empty? How many lots do we have altogether that are still empty? And I realize you may have something working that may change, but just an estimate.
Well, lots as they're drawn on here, 14. Now granted, the lot lines that show on here are for marketing purpose. That's not the way the lots are platted. If you go to the PVA's website, we have about 300 acres that is yet to be developed. But if you'll notice, south of Magna, the large Bowling Green Metal Forming project, there's about 102 acres that are below the CSX main line. The reality is I see ITA probably declaring that surplus and offering that up because to improve Kelly Road to allow for truck traffic and getting permission to widen it for truck traffic through a residential area is not going to be popular, and there are no utilities in industrial grade. So the all-in cost to develop that property for an industrial purpose would be hugely expensive. So the reality is that property will probably be sold separately, I would think, and then we would look for additional property. The other issue with that property too is between 6880 and I-65, there's not enough spacing to be able to put an off-ramp to where you could get off the 65 connector there. So absent that, there's not really great access.
Well, let's go from lots to acres. How many acres do we have that are empty, that is not?
Currently controlled by the ITA, 300 acres.
300 acres. At the dollar amount per acre. And I realize you will have some jiggling back and forth based on what you need to do, and I'm not questioning that. But we got 300 acres. What is the 300 acres worth right now?
What we advertise it at or what is on the books of the ITA at?
Well, both.
It's on the books of the ITA, I want to say a couple $1 million worth. We advertise it at $55,000 an acre. Now, the reality is the ITA has never sold property at that. Based on the capital investment and the jobs related to the project, we negotiate that pricing. So for instance, to land Constellium, which was $155 million, the ITA donated the property. The only way you're going to, and same thing with Bilstein, that was a $120 million project. The only way you're going to compete for projects of that magnitude is to donate the property.
Yeah, and I understand that. I have no problem with that. I realize you have to do that, but I was just trying to get a benchmark on what's left and what kind of money we're talking about, either on the book or what we plan to sell the property for. And you said that's 55 negotiated possibly. Okay.
Other comments or questions? Appreciate ITA's driving force into bringing manufacturing to our community. That's a basis upon which most jobs are built, so thank you for all your hard work in that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Just so there's disclosure, Melinda and I have already voted on this budget as member of the ITA board and approved it.
Y'all not gonna vote on it now? Gonna put all the pressure on the others, huh?
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I know.
Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. First reading of ordinance BG 2016-20. Thank you, Meredith.
Ordinance rezoning real estate, ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 0.2069 acre from P Public to RM4 multifamily residential located on East 12th Avenue, presently owned by Dan Harbison.
Second.
Hill, second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
Dennis here from questions.
Reminder, this has been heard in front of the Planning Commission with a unanimous vote for approval. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-117.
Municipal order approving appropriations for various city-created contract agencies for fiscal year 2017.
So move.
Second.
By Hill, second by Perigin. Mr. Febo, you want to start?
Thank you, Mayor. Part of our annual budget includes money that we pay various contract agencies in our community to do work on that we feel is part of our public responsibility. The allocation is found in your packet. Kate manages this for us, and I'd like for her briefly to go over the list of appropriation, if you find that appropriate.
Ms. Shalley.
These are as recommended in the budget presentation. There haven't been any changes. And it totals, let me pull this out. It totals $1,270,565. And again, this is based on an annual amount. These are paid out in quarterly disbursements. We are requiring this year something a little different. We're going to ask for quarterly reporting from these agencies. Previously, it was an annual report. We're now going to ask for the quarterly reports. And again, that will go along with the quarterly payments.
I know as part of the quarterly report, sometimes an agency may feel as though it's just an exercise in paperwork, but what we're asking those for is so that we can determine whether or not they're effective in the goals that we want to see for our community. I guess I'll start this discussion this week, and then the next meeting when we do our CDBG funding, we'll finish it up, I guess. But I'd like for staff to consider a new way of gauging. Not all of these agencies would have any problem providing the information we need. For example, in the Drug Task Force, we understand where those arrests come from and what that means to our community. We have, some agencies that they report that, what they do, but not necessarily how effective it helps the community. So we don't want to mistake effort for results. So we want to look at trying to come up with a plan for each of these as we go forward to make sure that what we're doing is helpful to our community and it's just not somebody who got attached to city government funding and becomes accustomed to that. And when they become accustomed, sometimes it makes it difficult to look at different opportunities, and I think that's another opportunity tonight that I think Mrs. Hill would like to begin the discussion with, and this is the proper time for that. So,
I'd like to invite Ms. Debbie Hills from United Way to come and give us a short presentation. Thank you, Debbie.
So thank you, Mayor, and members of the Commission, just for providing the opportunity for me to share for a few moments about a new service that we are bringing to the residents of Bowling Green and Warren County called 211. Just as a little bit of background, over the course of about an 18-month period, United Way of Southern Kentucky conducted a very extensive community assessment across the entire Brad area to really hear from residents in our communities. First, what their aspirations were for the community that they lived in, and most importantly, what was preventing the community from being that today. Over that time frame, we were able to conduct 55 community conversations, again in the Brad area, more than 5,000 surveys that were completed, with about half of those coming from residents of Bowling Green and Warren County. And one of the key things that we heard in that research is that people do not know where to get help, how to get help when they have a health and human service need. Yeah, I've had the great privilege of being with United Way for 17 years, and through all of those years, every time we've done some type of community assessment, we have heard from individuals that knowing how to access services is a challenge for them. And this is true if it's a person that's had a particular health and human service need. It's also true for community members, church members that try to help someone that has a need. And it's equally true for service providers who might have extensive knowledge of the particular field that they work within, but maybe not of services that are kind of outside of those boundaries. 211 is a national service. The 211 dialing code is owned by United Way Worldwide. And sadly, I have to say that Kentucky is one of 3 states that has less than 43% coverage of 211. So again, this is an area where Kentucky is ranking last in a category that we don't really want to be last in. 37 states have 100% coverage, and the other 10 have 80 to 90. So it's not like it's even kind of close. There are 3 states that are at the bottom of the pack, and we're one of those. So United Way is pleased to be bringing this really critical service to the residents of Bowling Green and Warren County and the entire Brad area. Just to give you a sense of what 211 is, obviously it's a dialing code, just like you dial 911 if you have an emergency. If you need to dig in your yard, you call 811, and I think you still can call 411 if you need directory assistance. Instead of, some people, not everybody Googles on their phone to get numbers. But with that one call, the individual on the other end can access a trained specialist who will navigate a very extensive database to determine what their need is and to direct them to services that might meet that need. And it really goes beyond what's that initial need. The contact specialist, who generally is going to have a social work background, is able to work during that conversation maybe to identify some underlying needs and direct to other services. For instance, if an individual calls needing utility assistance because they're challenged in meeting their utility bill this month, 211 can direct them to services that might be able to assist with that. But in conversing with the caller, the contact specialist might learn that the individual is out of work and they've seen some opportunities, job opportunities that are of interest, but they require a resume or they require steel-toed shoes. They don't know how to do a resume. They can't afford steel-toed shoes. That opens up another avenue for the contact specialist to direct them to a service that could address that need. What if the individual says, well, I have my elderly mother living here with me, and that's been another challenge in getting a job because I can't leave her here by herself for 40 hours a week. Again, the opportunity opens for that contact specialist to direct them to adult daycare and other services that might address that challenge that they have. We anticipate in the first year that we will receive 7,500 calls for this service from the 10-county area. And by year 3, and we actually anticipate our volume can grow even quicker than the year 3 averages. And we've looked at a lot of 211s across the country to come up with these estimates, but because of our rural nature, we think it could grow faster. We anticipate receiving 24,000 calls per year. Beyond impact on the individual caller or community member, which is critical, we want to serve the needs of the members of our community. The impact on city services and city government, I think, could be quite extensive. People that have a need are going to pick up the phone and call wherever they might think of to call. And often it's going to be the mayor's office, other city offices, and that takes your employees away from directing their efforts at the duties that they're assigned to do through their regular job, day to day. Certainly they don't mind trying to help a city citizen, but again, it's taking time away from their primary responsibilities. The effect on 911, we've had the opportunities to speak with 911 services across the region. All 911s are getting non-emergency calls every single day. And this will provide the opportunity for them to immediately redirect those calls to 211 so that it, again, opens up their lines to address the emergency needs that they need to be taking. Police and fire departments, when they respond to an emergency, they're able to address the immediate need and the immediate crisis, but the people involved in those emergencies, whether it's a domestic violence situation or a fire in the home, have needs that will go well beyond that initial crisis. And again, they can be referred to 211 to help them access those services. And then finally, just in local disasters, God forbid we have a tornado that blows through our area and we need to ratchet up services to connect people to disaster recovery and other services that would be available. We will have other staff in place that can increase call time to be able to take those calls. So 211 clearly will have impact on the lives of many residents across our 10-county area and certainly in Bowling Green and Warren County, as well as have a positive impact on the operation of city government. So we respectfully request that the city of Bowling Green consider funding for 211, and I really appreciate and thank you for the time today just to share with you about what 211 is going to mean to our community. Any questions or?
Comments or questions from Ms. Hill?
Thank you so much, Debbie. I know you all put a lot of time and effort in this, and it's so exciting to see that this is going to happen in our community and our region. So thank you all so much for all of your time and effort.
Thank you. It's going to be a great service.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if you would like to recommend that the city of Bowling Green look for funding to fund 211.
As everybody knows, we were considering this evening. I asked Mr. Childers to look into some opportunities with CDBG funding, and there may be some opportunity there for us, and I know he's prepared and ready to provide that information to us, and I've got it in front of me if you need it.
Just sitting there waiting to come up and speak to you all this evening. The mayor did ask me about some possible funding opportunities for 211, and whenever this conversation started sometime back, I had Nick just Google, because, you know, you can Google anything nowadays. Somebody has to have done this somewhere. We found out that San Diego in California had used some of their CDBG funding for 211. So Nick contacted them, talked to them, how'd you set it up? Because CDBG is a very flexible program. There's a lot of opportunities to do with it, but it's all about how you set it up. That's the important part of it. And a lot of the things that we have to deal with and what we have to balance is what do the regulations allow us to do percentage-wise. This would be considered a public service. And under public services, we can only use 15% of our annual allotment for public service projects. So looking at that 15% threshold, I had to go back to see, okay, what do we have available? What's underspending from previous years? And looking at what we have this year, and also in relation to our consolidated plan. Because we said in our consolidated plan, we're only going to use 20% for programs, programmatic activities. And that would include public service, any type of programs that we do. 20% of our funding is going to go to that. So it's kind of double limited for years in 12 and 13. So what I was able to come up with between years 7 and 10, so this would be old money that we've just kind of held out there. It's leftover money from maybe another project or whatever its contingency does, about $32,206 roughly. Year 13, which we have a plan at HUD Louisville now that we're waiting on getting our agreement back from, and we'll be bringing agreements back to you all in July. For those, we've got a recommendation out there. The maximum would be $14,000, but that would need to come from somewhere that's already been recommended or allocated out, but that'd be $14,000 for a total of roughly $46,206. If you all want to do that, that's fine. That's y'all's decision. We facilitate the process. We go through the applications. We go through the public hearing. We go through the comment period. We bring it to you all as a recommendation. It's up to you all to say, yes, this is where we want to do with our funding. So if that's the process that you want me to take, that's fine. I'll work with any of you to facilitate that process. But I would ask that you allow me the opportunity to go ahead and send an application to United Way so they can start on that to at least get that going, because that's going to take some time. It's about 15, 20 pages, a lot of narrative, a lot of budget, and that way we can go ahead and start to see kind of how it's all going to work out. And because, like I said at the start, it's all on how you set these up based on the eligibility guidelines that HUD gives us to work under. So I'll entertain any other questions that you might have.
Based on that, have you talked with United Way? Is their program going to meet the guidelines?
We think we can set it up on the funding wise and the performance measure wise to meet the guidelines. Okay, CDBG doesn't give you a list of eligible projects. There's a list of ineligible.
Okay.
And it's a short list of about 4 things. And that's general conduct of government, political activities, things like that. So pretty much everything's eligible, but you got to meet a national objective. And y'all have heard me for several years and Nick for the last couple of years give those public hearing presentations that are so exhilarating and exciting and informative. The benefit to low to moderate income persons is where we target all of our money, because that's what we have to do. So we have to show that we're benefiting low to moderate income persons by this. So that's where the real setup time is going to be. And once we get that established, then it's just setting up the billing based on that.
Would that be recurring?
What's that?
Could they apply every year for that
Yes,
same?
our application period opens in January, so they'd have to apply back in January. And then it goes through our initial review for eligibility, and then it goes over to a citizens committee for recommendation, then it's incorporated into the plan based on the recommendation that comes to you all as part of our annual action plan in May. But yeah, any organization's able to apply for that funding.
In this case, since we're going pretty much outside the program when they didn't do it, we'll be asking for another public hearing, and there'll be an amendment to the
As
action
part of our
plan.
citizen participation plan, anytime we make an allocation change, we have to do a public notice and a public comment period. So we would have to do it for the year 7 and 10, because it's not in the year 7 and 10 plan, just like it's not in the year 13 plan. So we'd have to do one, and we can do that all under one amendment. So that's part of our plan that we have to follow, and that's a 30-day comment period. So this would still take some time. My guess is if we had it going by October 1, we'd be doing really well.
When you say have it going, do you mean United Way would receive their funding?
Having United Way billing us for CDBG by October 1, we'd be doing really fast. There's just a lot of pieces that have to go into motion between now and that time. And we have our agreements for 12 months. Generally, everything starts in July, ends in June. That's where everything stops, July 1 to June 30. But for this, if we pushed it back to October, I'd be open to a 12-month still, so it'd be October to September. So we might have a little bit of carryover if they were funded next year, just for that first quarter, but I think we could work through that.
The totals that you have given us is a little over 46 too, so in order
That's
to
correct.
make that rounded 50,000, we would ask, I guess that's what we're talking about in the budget part here, an additional $3,800. I don't know that it'd be out of general fund, but I don't know that would require a budget amendment tonight. It would be moving forward as we went along.
That's what you want.
Is it something that we need to vote on, or can you tell the sense of the commission? We just keep moving in that direction? Yes, sir.
One thing I want to add, and Brent certainly knows this, is the vagaries of every local rep up in Louisville may have a different view, even though you got the national rules. A lot of that,
Still interpretive.
it's still interpreted on the local level. Each rep, whether it's Pittsburgh, Louisville, St. Louis, have their own view. So he's going to need, if you all want to do that, some deep farming of ideas there in Louisville to make sure they're okay with that. That has to start now.
Any other questions?
Agreement and moving forward. Is there any objections? Thank you, sir.
I have one more, I'm sorry. Will you explain the 14,000, year 13? Are we getting ready to vote on year 13?
No, not tonight.
Well, I mean, next meeting. is
Next
that-
meeting, we're going to bring the agreements to you
For year 13?
for year 13 programs.
Okay.
So we're
That's
going
what
to
I
bring them
said.
as recommended from the committee. So that's how we're going to present them at the next first meeting in July.
Our choice at that time to accept that recommendation. If we wouldn't be able to recommend spending it in the other direction without the public hearing, so we would be just withholding that 14,000, correct?
That'd be correct.
That's what I understood.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Does this juggling things back and forth or putting things together, does it have any effect on the president request budget for community action? Are we taking anything away, or are we adding anything to their present budget request?
No, sir.
I'll let the mayor address that.
Not on community action.
But we would be taking 14,000 from another agency if it
It
goes
had to
this
come from
direction.
somewhere.
But we could say, we don't want it to come, we want to keep those agencies as is and request, it's almost 18,000 from general fund. We could, that's the only way we're going to do it to get to their
The
50,000.
maximum that I could do for year 13 would be 14,000 to shift from somewhere else.
Because of that 15% public
And the
service.
20% total. I'm
Okay.
hampered by 2 percentages here.
But we know we have extra funds in CDBG of $32,206.
The year 7 and year 10, the 32,206, those are unobligated. Those are just sitting on a spreadsheet in our office. They're probably left over from a combination of a couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000s here, some contingency, things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Third call.
Yeah, well, don't leave yet. I guess I want to be clear in my mind, anybody else's but mine, that the $80,000 that we set aside for community action for their new program to add routes, that money is not going to be affected in any kind of way.
No, that money is in the general fund, and it's been set aside for a purpose to be determined in the future by the board, but that money has not been touched and is not part of the CDBG.
And do I understand it correctly, when we decide we want to do that if it's add the new route to go to, you know, Lover's Lane or wherever, we need to have a municipal order?
Yes, there has to be separate action by the board to appropriate that 80,000. It would be an amendment to our existing FY17 agency funding agreement.
The money's still there no
Yes,
matter
the
what?
the money is still set aside and just waiting.
I don't believe he believed me, did he?
Oh, no, it's not you, Your Honor. I'm sorry if you interpreted that way. You know how I get a little confused, and I just want to make sure I hear the right words.
Picking on you, Joe. Any other comments or questions? The motion on the floor is for the approval of Municipal Order 2016-118, which is for the, 117, which is for the city-created and contract agency funding for this year. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-118.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application for Homeland Security grant funds related to the First Responder Equipment Project through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security for the purchase of personal protective equipment for the fire department in the amount up to $82,704.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. Items 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all in the category of us asking the commission and their role for staff to apply for certain grants that are available. The first, number 15, involves the Homeland Security Grant. It's 100% funded by that agency. It allows our first responders who are in the fire department to acquire the right personal protective gear. We have specialized missions at times that require specialized gear. If approved, this would allow us to acquire 48 sets of personal protection gear. Nick Cook is here if you have any questions.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-119.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application for Homeland Security grant funds related to the communications project through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security for the purchase of mobile police car radios for the police department in the amount up to $424,994.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is under the category of asking your permission. We want to apply again to the Homeland Security Agency for the money, $425,000 to purchase 83 new mobile radios for the police department. It's a critical part of the ability to fulfill our mission. We ask your permission and we support this municipal order. Nick Cook is here, who's the architect of the actual grant application.
One question. We've talked about the body cam things. Will this interact with, if we go forward with that? Or is it something
You want to answer
separate?
that? Doug Hawkins is here.
What we're asking for under this grant proposal is actually mobile radios, not the in-car cameras. The body cameras that we have discussed and planned to purchase later in FY17 interact with our in-car cameras, not the radios. But this
We
is
need
this
both.
is we need both.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The radio, Chief, is that a handheld radio?
It's the mobile that's actually mounted to the car itself, and the reason we're asking for this, when we did negotiations on our radio system that we are just about to complete, one of the concessions we made was not to replace all of our radios because we had some that were compatible with the new system with an upgrade. What Motorola has been nice enough to tell us recently is those radios we decided to keep as part of that project are now no longer going to be supported by Motorola in the future. And so that is aging technology. And so now we have to have a plan to start replacing those, and that's part of this.
But it's the car radio, one
It's
that's on.
that's right. It is-
Okay.
yeah, as a matter of fact, all of our portables, all the handhelds, those are brand new as part of this radio project. So hopefully those won't need to be replaced for many, many years. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
He had to stop and use the phone.
Smoke signals, there you go. Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-120.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of a grant application to and acceptance of grant funds from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, Office of Justice Programs for the fiscal year 2016 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Funds in the amount of $30,960.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
Each grant program has its own rules of engagement. Under the Byrne Grant, it's encouraged to have a partnership with another agency to improve one's ability to compete. We are partnering with Warren County for $30,960. Half of that, it would go to us if granted. It would be, again, for our top priority to purchase 3 more radios. Why are we doing it both? To cover our odds. So, again, Doug is here, or Nick, if you have any questions.
Comments or questions? Roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2016-121.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of a 2016 grant application to the Georgia Pacific Bucket Brigade for fire station equipment in the amount up to $10,000.
So move.
Second.
Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is a request to submit. We're looking to get $10,000 from Georgia Pacific, a well-known and private company. They make money available to local fire departments. In this particular case, we're looking to purchase a dryer for a turnout gear or bunker gear, which is the protective suit that firemen wear that gets very wet during certain fires. It takes a number of days to dry out, so we want to advance that by using a dryer. Nick is here if you have any questions.
Questions? Call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning. Wilkerson.
Yes. First reading of ordinance BG 2016-21.
Ordinance relating to budget amendment. Ordinance approving amendment number 4 to the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year 2016.
So move.
Second.
By Hill and second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
This is part of our internal process, our partnership between staff and the city commission to manage the budget. Any changes at a certain level require a budget amendment to be approved by the commission. In your packet is the amendments we would like to make to bring the budget in whole. None of these require additional taxation, but reflect a balanced budget. Jeff is here, if Meisel can answer any questions, or Katie.
Comments or questions from Mr. Call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Recuse myself from item number.
Municipal Order 2016-122.
Municipal order authorizing the creation of a checking account at BB&T Bank for fiscal agent services related to Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Perigin, second by Williams. Any discussion?
I give a brief
Yes,
overview?
please.
Yes, thank you. We, as the commission knows, have been appointed the fiscal agent for the new Workforce Innovation and Opportunity reorganization. It's pursuant to regulation that strongly encourages, if not required, that one have a separate bank account from the one uses for its general fund. Jeff, in his role as managing the process, went out and opened up a bank account at BBT, which is not our principal banking agent now. Jeff, you want to add anything to that?
I've not opened it yet, but I will.
Okay, after tonight, yeah, sorry. You've made the contacts.
Just following the rules.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Would it be appropriate to say why he's recusing himself?
Yes, go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to say why our mayor is recusing himself from this?
If you want, I'll speak when we can. I think he's taken a position since his current employer Also, is a recipient of some funds through their students only, that he feels it's in the best interest of him and the city that he recuse from voting on any issues in this matter.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? Katie, please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move into the presentation of the fiscal year 2017 sidewalk project.
Can
Kevin?
I make a change in the budget order? It's been
Yes.
suggested to me by Kyle that the Crosswind Lake rehab might be quicker if we can handle that first, and because the sidewalk project is something of concern to all of us, and the Crosswinds Lake rehab is just a problem that you need to be notified of.
So does that mean they don't have to stay for the 30-something sidewalk slides? Is that what you're saying?
We'll go quick. We practiced, so. Brent?
Kate.
Magically, there it is. Hold on one second. Let me bring this up. First off, I'd like to thank the mayor and the board of commissioners and Mr. DeFebo for the opportunity to speak tonight. I believe you received after the budget packet, but your agenda packet, some information about what we're speaking about today. But I want to bring you or make you aware of an ongoing issue we have in regards to our Crosswinds golf course and two of our bodies of water, our lakes or ponds associated at the course. Not a new development, but obviously we live in a karst topography, a karst land, and I think Matt will speak to how that affects Crosswinds. But just a little background, the course opened in 1992 that is, and is engineered, designed to have 7 lakes. 5 of those were initially constructed. All lakes, even the 2 that were not initially constructed, they were just dry basins, were designed to accept what was not in 92, the neighborhood water, the neighborhood storm water. In 92 it wasn't a neighborhood, wasn't the businesses around, but all those lakes, the 7 lakes that we currently have, are part of the stormwater runoff for the entire neighborhood surrounding Crosswinds Golf Course. In 2005, similar to why I'm here today, Lake Number 9 had a sinkhole repair that was required. At that time, the city of Bowling Green decided to go ahead and make Lake Number 2 and 12, which were the 2 that were not part of the initial construction, to become lakes. They were just dry basins at that point. Decided to bring those 2 lakes to their original engineered lake bodies of water. So at that point in 2005, all 7 lakes were officially created and open to the public, and have been operational and servicing the neighborhood by receiving, passing, and holding stormwater runoff since that time. I just show you, if you're not familiar with Lakes Number 2 and Number 9, of their relation to the neighborhood in relation to Wilkerson Trace. I believe Number 9 is also, it serves Fairway Street, St. Andrews Circle, Legends Court, the surrounding neighborhoods or roads there for their water runoff. Number 2 is strictly for Fairway Street. It directly relates to water from that street. At this point, I believe it would be most prudent if Matt Powell, Matt's been serving as my right-hand man expert, in the field, literally in the field, trying to help us determine really what, he'll talk about what we have, our current procedure, our current sites, and where we stand with both these lakes.
Good evening, it's Aniv. It's a pleasure to see everybody again. And it looks like my legacy with the city of Bowling Green is going to largely boil down to bodies of water and sinkholes. So here we are again in the current year. And basically what I want to do with you all is describe a little bit about what the current nature is with both of these ponds, some of the things that we might want to do when it comes to replacement, what procedures we might want to follow. And Brent's going to talk about exactly how that process is going to go when he jumps back up with you all. Just to walk you briefly through This is lake number 2. This is the one that is more toward Fairway Street. The lake has to be there. It
The lake
not only-
has to what?
It has to be there. It does not have to be wet. It could also be a dry basin, which is a little bit more common throughout the city of Bowling Green. But in some shape, form, or fashion, there must be something here that accepts the drainage from the neighborhood. This not only takes water from the golf course that runs down and collects it, it's taking the water from the neighborhood. If this goes away, if it's a flat spot, all of the water that's currently being collected here in any big rain event is going to have to go somewhere else, and there simply isn't anywhere else to put it. So we basically have a couple of options moving forward with what has to happen to it. We can put it back as a lake, or we can dry it out, and I'm not a golfer. If any of you all are, you'll have to kind of fill in the blanks for me here. But if we change that, it alters the nature of golf course play. It alters the nature of how people interact with this community resource. If you'll take a look at the photograph that I've got up, and I was actually planning to use a laser pointer, didn't realize I was going to be stuck with a mouse, but here we go. In 2005, as Brent discussed, the lake was relined. The liner that was installed here is a PVC liner. PVC, we know now, doesn't stand up very well to UV degradation. As sunlight shines on it, the plasticizers in that product break down. And I'll show you a couple of images of what that results in here in a moment. In 2011, we went back and made some repairs. We were having some difficulties with erosion at one side of the pond, and in-house we went back and corrected those, and that was primarily to the drainage that the pond receives from Fairway Street. A new structure was built to allow that water to come in. We added a dry well, which is an opening that goes down into the cave system to accept some of the stormwater runoff. That repair didn't hold as well as we thought it would. There's been some failure there, and as a result, the lake level has been lower over the course of the last few years than it should have been. We've been having difficulty having that lake keep its proper level. We've gone ahead and implemented some intermediate repairs to try to get that lake back up where it ought to be for the meantime. But the reality of the situation is, Brent, where'd your photos go? There we go. The reality of the situation is, this is what we're looking at. This top row of photographs are various photographs of the side of lake number 2. You can see, especially in D, that's probably the most illustrative of the issue. That gray material that you see there, wadded up, torn, hanging around, that is degraded PVC liner. That degradation extends not only below the water line, but well above, all the way up the shore. That's not repairable. In order to repair that, we'd have to lower the water level well down below where we're at now. A very dangerous chemical called xylene, which is a very hazardous solvent that's very flammable, is what you have to use to clean the existing PVC liner in order to create a surface that you can glue a new PVC liner to. And then as you bring that back up the hill, you have to dig a new anchor trench, which is all the same excavation equipment that you'd have to install a new liner there just to repair the existing liner. So in terms of what are our possible solutions, repairing what's there really isn't one. The costs are going to be basically the exact same as going with either a completely relined basin or converting this over to a dry structure. We'll go ahead and address number 9. I'm sure Brent's going to talk about the community and the fountain access and those kind of things. But you'll see the bottom row photographs is hole number, or lake number 9, and you'll see that it's in precisely the same condition. Allow me to jump back over to number 2 briefly. So as I alluded to earlier, or as I mentioned earlier, you've got drainage coming in from Fairway Street. You've also got drainage coming in from this other direction over here via a swale. Water leaves this area through a series of 3 dry wells. There's one here on this side of the cart path, one here at the water's edge, and another one down here off to the southern end of the pond that allows the overflow to go ahead and get out of there over the course of several hours after a rain event is complete. Like Brent's going to talk a lot about exactly how we'll move forward with the community to select the possible options. Some of the upgrades that'll have to happen either way we go. We'll have to improve 2 of these dry wells. This one will either have to be lowered if we go with a dry basin, or improved in place with an embankment to move the water away from it so that we don't see a recurrence of the same failure that we have now. This one at the lower end of the pond, we know now after several years of installing these things all over the city of Bowling Green that we've set this one up in a fashion that we commonly see failures. Water's allowed to bleed across the soil surface as it approaches the dry well. That tends to saturate the area around the well stem itself, which drives subsidence, collapses right around the well. So this one has not failed yet. But if we are to undertake extensive repairs to this pond, we should ensure that we upgrade this to a newer standard. So that's essentially what you're looking at for number 2. Allow me to jump down to number 9 and speak briefly to the specifics of it. This one also must be here. Lake number 9 accepts drainage from Legends Court via a pipe that's going to be coming in from this side of the lake right over here, if you can see my mouse moving around. It also accepts drainage from St. Andrews Circle. That pipe's coming in right over here. It accepts drainage from Wilkinson Trace. That's through a 72-inch concrete pipe. We don't get much bigger than that. It's taken a lot of drainage from Wilkinson Trace. That comes up the side of the course and then across and into the pond. And there's also a 36-inch concrete pipe coming from the pro shop and golf course area that comes back here. Sum all that up, this thing takes a lot of water. We must have some receptacle there, either a dry basin or a replacement wet basin to accept all that water. This one has 2 outlets. The original outlet is a dry well down in this lower corner. We are seeing the kinds of failures that I was talking about a little earlier with this dry well. The area around it has been saturated. That soil has collapsed down into the karst receiving stream, wherever that is, however deep that is, and the soil is slowly subsiding away. This one is in an intermediate term of failure. So it's going to have to be worked on regardless of what we do. Either lower it to convert this to a dry basin, or reconfigured if we go back with a wet basin. Just last year, we experienced a sinkhole failure right at the edge of the railroad tie retaining wall. That failure was an opening that occurred down into a karst feature. Was very easily identified, and what we elected to do at that time was sort of a Band-Aid. Rather than try to eliminate that karst feature, we just simply integrated it into the drainage system. We built a structure over the top of the failure and restored the pond back to what level it should have been, but with the degraded liner, with the numerous points of entry and exit, we are still currently experiencing a tremendous amount of water loss in this pond. Unlike number 2, where we see a failure that we have a general idea, we know where this is going, with lake number 9, we can't find it. We've looked several times at higher water levels and at lower water levels, and we don't know exactly where it's going. It's one of those things that during the course of construction, we'll discover it. Those things, bulldozers tend to expose those things pretty effectively, and I'm sure we'll find it, but right now with the water in it, we're not 100% sure where it's going. A note on concurrence. As Brent is moving forward with what are we going to do, how are we going to repair this? It's a golf course, it's a community resource. We need to ensure that there's access. We can't simply close 100% in order to make the repairs that we need to make. If we were to separate the two, I feel like that would be the wrong way to go. And the reason why is, if you look down here, this is the pro shop, the parking lot for the pro shop, and then of course the expansion grass parking lot area that we have for various community events. In order to access hole number 9 and do the minimum amount of damage possible to the course, we propose that any construction activity come in from this expanded parking lot area, follow the property line down along behind the homes on St. Andrews, and then cut across the fairway here. That's the minimum amount of fairway damage that we'll have, is the minimum amount of cart path damage that we'll have. All of those things are going to drive the cost of whatever we elect to do up when we try to put this back into golf course fashion. Once you're there at lake number 9 to complete the work, all of your equipment can remain staged here outside of the course. And for a moment, let's say that we just did number 9. So we leave, we put the golf course back, and then later on we elect that we're going to go ahead and proceed with repairs to number 2. Number 2 also has to be accessed from this direction. Essentially, you'd follow that same path until you get to 9. This is a naturalized area through here, very easy to repair. There's no specific things that have to be done to make it back golf course worthy. We just have to grow grass, and we're reasonably experienced at that. And then you cut across behind the, this green? Behind this green and through this rough to get to number 2. Yep. That's why we believe that as we move forward, as we evaluate what we might do to address both of these issues, we think that we need to be concurrent. That way we damage the golf course once, we impact play once, we impact the folks who need to use this resource once, and we accomplish both of these tasks at the same time, the minimum amount of cost to put everything back in the fashion that it should be. One other thing that's really going to weigh heavily on our minds is, if you can imagine causing some damage perhaps to your home, maybe a kitchen or a bathroom or something like that, it's much easier, much faster, and much more straightforward to go back and put it back the way that it was. If you come in tomorrow and you find that somebody's knocked a hole in the drywall in the kitchen and you decide to take the wall out and move it somewhere else, a lot more expense, a lot more time, a lot more difficult to try to come to some new conclusion than to repair what was there. And in that fashion, it's going to be the same with these. If we were to go back with a different material, we would use something like 40 millimeter high-density polyethylene as opposed to PVC, much more resilient material, thicker material, and holds up much better to UV degradation. You won't see it being falling apart in 10 years as we've seen with the PVC. You get to go back into the same footprint, put the ponds back the way they were. We can do that quicker than we can convert to dry basins or make other significant modifications either to the footprint that you see or to the way that these things function. Essentially, putting them back the way they are can happen faster. And I know Brent will talk to you quite a bit about golf course play, what we've discussed, what Mr. DeFebo brought up, which we think is an excellent idea. As this golf course is laid out, that would allow us to simply close the front 9 and run the golf course as a 9-hole golf course during the course of construction. And as we brought that to Tony and Brent, they've said that actually they think we could only have a few days in which we would have to run it as a 9-hole course, and during the course of construction we could periodically keep those 9 holes open to have the minimum amount of impact possible. So that's about as brief as I know how to be, and I apologize for that. But do you all have any questions about the current conditions, possible solutions for these 2 problems?
One, are you using the water out of either one of these lakes for irrigation purposes at all?
No, that was actually the lake that we just recently repaired, and that lake is doing very well. But that's number 7. That receives the flow up from the Barron River through the pumping station, and that water's allowed to still in there. The mud falls out. That's what we reuse for irrigation. We can put water into these lakes from that irrigation system just to keep the levels up so that the golf course play is not affected, but we cannot take water out to use for the irrigation system.
What about wildlife?
There's lots of ducks, fish. I don't know, I'm assuming everybody was here when we did Wakefield Pond. We will do the best that we can to try to do the same thing. If in the event we do move forward with construction, with repairs, we'll capture everything that we can capture and move it somewhere safe. I'm sure Fish and Wildlife would be eager to work with us on something like that again.
Okay.
The ducks and the turtles have to fend for themselves. They can walk. All right, thank you for your time.
Excuse me.
Couple questions, don't leave.
All right, yes, sir.
Since '92, how many times have we worked on all the ponds?
Brent will have to speak to that. This will be the 3rd time that number 9 has been repaired.
Originally in '92, then 2005, and this will be the 3rd time.
At the times that we worked on these 3 lakes, did we use the best equipment available to us at that time?
I believe that's true, yes. It is pretty standard practice for PVC liner to be used nationwide for golf course ponds. You'll find that ones that are installed in areas where they don't have to worry about the pond suddenly vanishing through a cave, that they hold up pretty well. They last a long time. What we've seen, the accelerated degradation that we've seen is because we've been having difficulty keeping the water level up where it should be, that the sun has broken down the liner and didn't have the water to protect it, which is why a different material will work better here. So I believe that in 2005, the folks that did that work did it in good faith. They expected that product to last just as long as any other. And I don't know that they foresaw the difficulty that we would have with karst.
The new material that we're gonna be using, on an average, what is the lifespan of this material?
On HDPE,
Whatever we putting in?
the new one, it's indeterminate, 30-plus years. The Butler County project, I'm sure you guys will remember having seen me a lot for that. We put 13.8 acres of 40 mil HDPE in up there. That's a slightly different version of what we would use for this pond. It has a 25-year warranty, and it is fully exposed to the sun. It stays out in sunlight all day. It's just laying there on top of the ground. It's really something to see, and they warranty it for 25 years.
Is that what we're gonna be putting on the lakes?
Very, very similar.
Joe raises a good point. I think it's germane to the discussion why Matt is tag teaming with Brent and bringing it to you and bringing it to me was because we have a golf course in a very dynamic karst environment. Matt would tell you, I think, that he can't guarantee that after we do this work, that some karst movement underneath the golf course could open up another large hole, rendering all the work of mice and men moot. That could happen. We're going to take every precaution not to do that. Now, the trade-off to eliminating that is making this essentially a dry hole similar to Covington or similar to Wakefield Pond. Now, number 9 is the signature hole of our golf course. And Brent's going to talk about what precautions we want to take with the neighborhoods, because one of the things we'll bring up was, how do you feel about an environment in which you have a Covington-type dry basin? Or should we split the difference, do one dry basin, one signature hole? But there's no guarantee.
He's precisely right. This area is situated in one of the more active areas of what we call a karst sinkhole plain. If you take a look at what we call a hillshade relief map, whereas you're looking at an aerial photograph of the area and you kind of see the light and dark as opposed to the elevated versus the depressed areas, it looks like a lunar landscape. It looks like the entire area is covered with craters from right around the Crosswinds area through the airport, Lovers Lane Soccer Complex, and all the way out to Drakes Creek. It's just an active karst region. And without, the city gathering up its hem and moving somewhere else, it's something that we're going to continually deal with, whether it's street construction, golf course construction, or any other project that we choose to undertake. This is a risk that we have.
I do know that as someone who plays golf occasionally, and it's very occasionally anymore, without these water features, it would dramatically change how you play those two golf holes.
Well, first off, aesthetics, obviously, but pace of play. When you have naturalized area, high grass, even decorative rock, I'm not a good golfer, so I hit into the high grass, I'm going to find my ball, and it's going to take, you do that over 100 different players in a different day, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever, that adds pace of play. It's just like a restaurant table. In our environment, a golf cart is the table. In all due respect, we want those individuals to have a good time. We want them to play in 2 or 4 hours as quickly as possible to get back around to turn that table back to the next people waiting to play. If it takes them 6 hours to play, that table is tied up, and there goes that cart is not turned around quickly. So that is why pace of play is important to us. Aesthetics being what it is, we can do decorative rock, and we feel like we can make a very, when we say dry basin, I would like to believe that we would have a very nice decorative appearance to the neighbors, if that's what the chosen path that we decide to go with, and that be something that we could very, very well be pleasing to the eye and keep property values high and do a good job with the stormwater runoff as well. So if that's what we choose to do. Operationally speaking, obviously for construction points, we can get to the holes, in our opinion, in the same time manner at the same time. But once again, we're closing the front 9. It makes it, that holes 10 through 18 would still be open for play and not be closed to the entire public. Matt hinted to the point that there may be opportunities if we decide to reline both lakes that we're able to be open while the heavy machinery is inside doing work. We're not necessarily closed down. We could look at that. Also, on a given month, we'd love to be doing this in the fall, early winter time of the year, not February when we're getting our 20 inches of snow, but hopefully October, November, December, that sort of time frames that we'd love to be looking at so that it's the downturn, if you will, of the pace of the play time of year. So all those things would be working to our advantages if we're able to put that on the calendar. That would be our chosen times. And that would be the case whether it's a dry basin, relining of the lake, or just strictly taking the lakes out and doing something else.
What's
So
next?
Your proposal is to stay?
Well, I'll
wet.
say our proposal is to present it to, first off, to bring it to your attention and get your opinion on such. And then secondly, we would like to take it to the neighborhood, have neighborhood meetings to get their opinion on how they would like to view what kind of view they'd like to have from their backyard, from their front yard. And then lastly would be our golfers, our customers, to bring those individuals and at least get some sort of anecdotal, at the very least, to copy a word from earlier, their ideas or their beliefs and their wishes on how they would like to view the course that they're using on it, hopefully on a daily basis as well. So those three parts is how we look at it and bring it to you. I believe Mr. Febo's idea was that fall retreat in September was to bring some, if not concrete ideas, at least present some our responses that we've gotten for those.
To concrete them?
No, responses back from the neighborhood.
The
We thought
responses.
it was critical that we talk to the neighbors, to the interest groups. The interest groups being the neighbors, interest group being the golfers, staff, and us here to decide if we want to move forward.
But if we wait till the retreat in September, that's going to delay us an awful lot. Can we move forward on this so you can start in October if this is the way we want to go?
I believe you
Sure.
have the direction however you'd like for us to
I
address it.
personally, we have a tendency to drag our feet on projects, and then we miss the weather to do it, and we'll have to wait a whole nother year. It's my preference, let's move on it if it's the will of the board.
Do need to get in,
Yes, yes.
that's
No,
germane
that's
to
part
the
of this
decision-making
process,
process.
yes.
The input is probably a little bit more critical for a project like this, and I don't want to talk finance in terms of very, very specifics, but we've done some preliminary looking at how would it function as a dry basin, what do we have to put into it, what are we going to have to put into it if it's a wet basin. This is not going to be much of a fiscal decision. The costs are surprisingly close to one another. There's a bit of a savings here and a bit of a cost there with flipping those two things back and forth. But in terms of, is it a purely fiscal decision to change it from a wet basin to a dry basin or vice versa, those costs are surprisingly close to one another.
But is this a project we'll have to put out for bid, or do we?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's taking longer, so I'm all for start meeting with the
And
people.
we'll start meeting immediately if you all think it's
It's
a
up
good.
to
And your golfers are your customers, so, you know, and you've got single-eyes play versus tournament play. It's gonna make a big difference in each one of those scenarios. So I'd get them while they're out there and available to talk to.
Dan?
Yeah, we wish we weren't here, but we're here and we have this problem, so we're going to solve it.
Thank you for the presentation. Next up, sidewalks, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the signature things that this commission has made a priority every year is for us to do a group of sidewalks in our community. We made a commitment to be a walkable community. Having sidewalks, as we saw from our recent video we did on Channel 4, helps provide our ability to connect one neighborhood to the other. We're here today to hear from Mr. Kyle Hunt, Assistant Engineer, to talk about some changes we made to the process to address what Melinda says, get things done quicker. The other is our locations for the proposed upcoming year. Kyle, please.
Thank you, Mr. DeFebo. Good evening now. Mayor and Commissioners, would like to thank you all for the opportunity to present the FY17 proposed sidewalk projects. Before I briefly talk about the individual projects, I would like to give an informative but brief state of the sidewalk program. The program started in 2007 with the purpose of making Bowling Green a more walkable community, and I believe at this point we're well on our way to achieving that goal. Since the start of the program, we have constructed, or will at the end of FY16 projects, have constructed just over 12 miles of new sidewalks in areas all throughout the city. This year, we are looking, for FY17, we're looking at a budget of $786,000. That is $500,000 for the FY17 budget, as well as $286,000 from underspending from FY16. And then also, in November 2013, we incorporated a revised public involvement outreach section to the program. As usual, this year, as in previous years, we use criteria-based selection. This helps us to establish an objective order and rank projects that are requested. Here are the 5 criteria that we look at. We presented these to you all before, so if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask. As I said, in 2013, we incorporated a revised neighborhood outreach and input aspect of the program. This helps us to better gauge neighborhood input before we spend staff and monetary resources in survey and design, only to find out that, hey, this neighborhood may not be in favor of the sidewalk. So what this involves, it gives us, we do a preliminary notice through NCS. We work closely with Karen Foley to notify the affected neighborhoods, to let them know that we are coming with sidewalk close to them. What we typically do before we start survey and design, we have a pre-design open house where we invite the neighborhood in and basically show them a display with a line on a paper. It lets them know what side of the street the sidewalk is on and the from and to extents of the project. Not much detail is presented at that point, but they can ask questions. And it also gives them the opportunity to provide us with feedback, gives us ideas for problems that we may not be aware of, that we may need to look at during design. Once the pre-design open house is finished, we do what we are doing now. We are presenting the projects to you all for recommendation to move forward with construction. Once design is complete, we have what's called our post-design open house. It's at this point we can talk about specific impacts to property owners. We can say this tree needs to be removed, this landscaping will be removed, or, you know, luckily nothing is impacted on your property. It's also at this point that we may talk about easements and inconvenience payments for those personal property items. A couple of things we'd like to note are recent policy changes to the program. During the time of Mr. DeFebo being the interim Public Works Director, one of the first items he tasked us with are ways to improve this program. So one of those are how we actually implement the program. As I spoke before, we have a couple of new public involvement items in the program. While those are critically important to completing the program, those do have a tendency to extend the life cycle of a project. So we have been running into the cases where projects are not constructed in the same year as the funds are allocated. So that what this will help us do is change that to get those projects completed in the same fiscal year. Before, requests for new sidewalk were cut off on July 1st at the start of the fiscal year, and then only then can we move forward with the public meetings, the survey and design, and so forth. What we are doing now, and starting with FY17, we are moving the cutoff date back to March 1st of the previous FY. So that lets us complete prioritization, lets us do the pre-design open house, as well as present the projects to you all, to the board, before the start of the fiscal year. So once July 1 starts the new fiscal year, we're immediately ready to start survey and design and ultimately construction. Another change that we were tasked with was updating the sidewalk portion of the city's website. The sidewalk page is been several years old. Some of the information is outdated. There's been changes to the program. So with the recent revision to the website, it allows us to present more updated information to the public. And what we can do, briefly, we can go to if you go to the city's main page and scroll down under the projects to the new sidewalk program, this web page is presented. What it has, starting at the top, it has the status of current projects, whether they've been recently completed, whether they're in construction, or we have a few that are currently in design. It gives, like I said, it gives the public a good idea of where the program is at. If they look on here at this list and say, well, my street isn't on here, when am I going to get new sidewalks? They can go to the next section of the page, and what it does, we have both a list of streets by rank as well as alphabetically. So they can scroll down to their street. Bent Tree, it looks like it's ranked 79th and 100. So it's probably going to be a while before Bent Tree gets sidewalk. And I'll say it here in a few minutes, but you'll see that both, like Baldwin Drive, it has left and right. What we do, we rank each side of a street as its own separate project. And then once a project is selected, the other side of the street drops off. So we're only building sidewalk on one side, so the money has a chance to go as far as we can make it go. And then if we go back, if they want to know how to request new sidewalk, that information is on the website. They can call City Central at 393-3444 or email Emily Angel with NCS. And if they're if they're up late at night, they can click on the city's sidewalk policy, read that, and it'll help them get to sleep. So with that, here are the proposed projects for the upcoming FY17 fiscal year. We have Warren Way and Hogle Drive. The first two projects, those are actually carryover from FY16. Based on the bids that we received for construction, the budget did not allow for those projects to be built, so we deferred those to this fiscal year. Other new projects include Morgantown Road, Logan Way, Gordon Avenue, and South Sunrise Drive for just under 2 miles of new sidewalk. And I'll briefly go over each project. Warren Way, that is constructed from College View Drive, which was a recent rehab project, and it will extend all the way around to Durbin Drive behind the new Dishman McGinnis Elementary. The next few slides, you'll see the aerial photos. The green lines are existing sidewalk. The yellow lines are the proposed projects. Yes, ma'am.
If we see double green lines, does that mean there's like on Durbin, is there a sidewalk on both sides?
Yes, ma'am, both sides of the street.
Will you explain why? Because you had just said we're not going to do sidewalks
That
on
was
both
built
sides.
well before the program was established, so.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is Hogle Drive and Logan Way. These are close enough. We can fit those both on the same aerial. This is where the connectivity comes into play. The Ogden Drive project was a real driver in this area, I believe 2 or 3 years ago. That project was built from Chestnut Street all the way to Cabell. Following that, Meredith Drive came in from Ogden to the bypass. And now that Meredith is complete, Logan Way is going to be constructed. It helps to, with these new segments coming in, it helps to shorten those gaps, increases the gap score, thereby allowing some of these smaller projects to be built around them. The next one is Morgantown Road. Initially, our rankings showed that the north side of Morgantown Road was the higher ranked project, but the closer we looked, you have Walmart just off to the west side of the page, and also you've got Potter Avenue as well as the apartments there along Morgantown Road. Those are going to be a higher pedestrian driver than what's on the other side of the street, so we have opted to put the sidewalk on the south side. But I believe the south side ranked number 4, whereas the northern side ranked first. So it's not a big stretch to put it on the other side of the street. We think it would better serve the community built on that side.
Am I looking at that correctly? On the other side, there is already a sidewalk.
There is, and what we can do, we can put a crosswalk in at the intersection of Old Morgantown Road, the light at Old Morgantown Road. But if we continued on to Festival Drive on the other side of the street, the residents on the south side at the apartments along Potter Avenue, they would have to cross Morgantown Road to access that. So from a safety aspect, we thought it would be better to build the sidewalk on the south side to serve those residents directly. The next one is Gordon Avenue. It's on the right side or the east side of the street as you travel north from Double Springs to the new Dollar General store. They're on Highway 185. It's close in proximity to the Boat Landing Road sidewalk that was completed several years ago. The Pearl Street sidewalk, it shows green, but it is currently under construction as well. The last one is South Sunrise Drive between Old Morgantown Road and Morgantown Road. Of the 6 projects presented, I think this one is going to be the most technically challenging, just because of the drainage issues that we're going to encounter along that stretch of roadway. There's a lot of low places, a lot of sags that we're going to have to address. Once we put curb and gutter in, we're going to be holding the water in the street, whereas before it could sheet across into the yards. So we will have to address that with the design. One thing we would like to propose, and given your approval, in order to expedite these projects, we would like to break out a couple of them as a phase 1. The Morgantown Road and Gordon Avenue, from a construction perspective, are the easiest to construct of these 6. So we would like to get the survey and design finished with those first and get those out to bid while we're working on the others.
Morgantown Road and what?
Morgantown Road and Gordon Avenue. Those, like I said, those are just going to be easier to construct, easier to design, so we can get those completed faster and advertised for bid. At this time, I would like to bring up Karen Foley. Like I said, we work with her heavily on the public involvement and outreach portion of the program, so she will briefly talk about that aspect.
Briefly. As Kyle mentioned, there are several different ways that we contact neighbors and we get them involved in this process, and we want to do it early so that we know that we're doing a project that people support. As he mentioned, there's a property owner letter that goes out, and it explains, hey, your project is up at the top. It's their signal that there's a very strong possibility this is actually going to happen. It's going to be built. In with that letter, they get a comment card, which looks like this. So they get an explanation of what the project is. They have an opportunity to return this comment card back to us. They are also invited to that first preliminary open house, so they are welcome to stop by. In the letter it does say, if you don't respond back to us, then we assume that you consent to the project, and we do calculate based on, if we don't hear from them, then we're assuming that they are all good with the project. So we did this year with the 4 projects, and remember there were 2 that we did this for last year. We're carrying them forward. Out of these 4 projects, we're talking about 114 total properties. And when you consider those properties are on either side of the street. So in reality, when we actually get into building, you're going to have somewhere around 50-ish different properties that would actually be directly impacted by the construction. So that's just I'd let you know about how many folks we're talking about. And we do have some duplicate property owners that we know own multiple properties. What Kyle mentioned about Gordon Avenue and Morgantown Road, for example, that's looking at 27 properties. So out of 100 plus, 25% of your properties in this are in those 2 projects. And that makes sense because Logan and South Sunrise are residential areas with smaller lots. But they all get the same information from us. On the Morgantown Road project, for example, 4 of those properties are actually owned either by the state, the city, or the county. So for those, in addition to making notice to the properties that are potentially impacted, we do try to reach out, and we include folks like Ken Meredith, who was here earlier with GoBG, so he knows these are sidewalk projects that are coming. And we also let the State Highway Department, in fact, I think I emailed Greg to let him know, hey, there's 2 projects here that will actually be along State Highway. We want you to know about those as well. When we planned our open house, we actually had it at the West Side Fire Station. We did that because obviously Morgantown Road is a major project, and South Sunrise is another, and we knew that would be a good location to try to reach out to the folks in that area. When we did that, I also contacted, and I hope that you all are aware, there are some folks here locally that have been working on a West End walk bike plan. And under that West End, the whole location that they are referring to is basically everything between Riverview and the bypass westward to Morgantown Road. So if everyone could picture a bit, that is what they're considering West End. And so over the past several months, we've been doing outreach to Parker Bennett Curry School and a couple of different other locations on the West End to ask people about how do we make that area safer for walking and biking. So because we had our sidewalk open house going on, we did invite them to come and participate. That was a way for them to get some additional survey responses put in. When we do these letters and our comment cards, typically people will put on the comment card if they're opposed, why. This time, we had some folks who said they were opposed and they didn't give any reason why. And in those cases, Kyle and I called them to ask, hey, we noticed you're opposed to the project. Would you mind, sharing with us what some of those concerns are? Typically, people are concerned if they have something particular in the right-of-way that they think they may lose. We did hear from some folks who were concerned about South Sunrise precisely because of the drainage issues. And I think in talking with them, we really feel like the project can only help that situation, not hurt that situation. But by and large, we didn't have a whole lot of opposition to any of these particular projects. I'm just going to kind of click through some of the slides. Of course, Warren Way, we did this last year. These were the concerns that were brought up last year. Same thing with Hogle. On Morgantown Road, neighborhood input, we only have 12 properties. 2 of those are duplicate property owners. And as far as we can tell, everyone was supportive, both the ones that responded and the ones who did not. Logan Way, we had a 38% return rate. That's about 23 properties, 2 duplicate, and this was the support. The graph on the left basically shows the responses that came back to us. The one on the right, we have factored in our assumed consent. Property owner concerned about a mailbox. On Gordon Avenue, fully 3/4 were in support of the responses we got back. And I should mention, there were some concerns that some folks mentioned about actually crossing the entrance to Sugar Maple Square. There's currently sidewalk on Double Springs that leads you to the intersection with Gordon Avenue. And I think what they're talking about there is when you do put sidewalk in to head out of town towards that Family Dollar, they were concerned about you're going to be building sidewalk now. So right now, people may cut through the parking lot to head that way. But they were just concerned, well, now you're going to have people crossing this entrance. And so we think that that's something that can be resolved through design. On South Sunrise, we had a very good response rate. Everyone who came to the open house was from South Sunrise. We didn't have a huge turnout out of 114 properties. We had about 7 folks who came to that open house. But by and large, everyone was supportive of the project. They did have questions and concerns about, well, how do you pick this side of the street versus the other side of the street? And we did talk about some of those issues, and you see what the support was there. And again, the primary concern related to that project is one that we also share, which is how do we manage these drainage issues as we go through. And again, I also mentioned sort of that West End walk ride. One of the things that I think is important to know is we're not just doing this in a vacuum. This survey and some of the projects that were identified through that planning process included sidewalk on Gordon Avenue in the place that we have specifically ranked very high on our list. Another thing that was listed through that planning process was Morgantown Road between Lampkin Park and Walmart. So we're following along with exactly the things that they're telling us. That's all we have.
Questions?
If you have questions, that's fine.
Yes, please. Refresh my memory. What are the rules? It looks like we're building on some state roads. What are the rules regarding state roads, city roads, and sidewalks?
If I'm not mistaken, if we build it on a state route, it is ours to maintain. We have to apply for a right-of-way encroachment permit with KYTC. But if we build it, then it is our responsibility to maintain it.
Is there a chance they will build it on a state road?
Probably not. If it's not built, when the road is built, typically it won't get constructed.
Reconstruction of Morgantown Road starts out towards Richardsville, as I understand, so reconstruction down
No,
on this end.
no, not with that project, no.
I can respond to your question. There's been a long-running debate with the Kentucky Transportation Department about their desire to transfer all the responsibility for sidewalks from the state to the city. Our position, in disagreement with the Transportation Cabinet, is that we're not responsible for that. You built those, you have perpetual responsibility. Can't be unilateral agreement on your part and expect us to sign it. We have, however, agreed in practice if we felt there was a public priority so important that it required us to build on a public state road, then we would assume responsibility for that new activity, not the old. So what's happening here, I guess, is that we feel this is critical enough to accept that responsibility going forward, but not the past responsibility for the other right-of-ways, because we're not prepared for the cost of that with all the demand that people would expect from us.
And I do get calls from time to time about damage
Yeah.
on existing sidewalks that are on state highways. And unfortunately, no one seems to fix the damage because everybody's pointing fingers at one another as to who's responsible for it. And in a couple places, we got some dangerous issues. So I think we need to resolve that in some fashion. I'm hoping that our new Public Works Director will
No pressure.
jump right in on that one.
Same thing we're facing on Gordon Avenue. I mean, there was a big write-up in the paper and.
Paper this week.
Yeah, I know about that.
So state, we need you all to fix your problems.
Yeah, we've always needed, as Gene can tell you, we can get sued over sidewalks and the state's immune, which is that's one of the reasons, they want to save money, so they want to pass their costs to us. They fill their roles to build roads and not to maintain them. At the risk of being snide, I don't mean to be, but I can understand that.
Mr. Williams, you're right, there's been some, I guess finger point, if that's the term, but there is an old agreement, it's probably, 20 years old or older, even before I started doing this, so we got how old that agreement is, that there may be some difference of interpretation between the state and us. But we've interpreted that agreement that if it's on state right of way and there's sidewalk, they maintain, because Kevin said two things. One, the cost. It's expensive enough to try to maintain the sidewalks we have without suddenly being told you're responsible to go out and maintain and inspect and maintain, gosh, I don't know how many miles or feet or whatever, linear feet of state sidewalks there may be. And then the two, as Kevin said, the second thing, the state's got a great thing, it's called immunity. That the county has that the city doesn't have. Although there's one case that came out of Owensboro where a court kind of said, well, maybe you may have some immunity for inspection and stuff. The general rule right now is I'm not sure how far that decision is going to go. I think last I heard it was on appeal as well. But the issue is, we paid several $1,000s not too long ago on a slip and fall on a city sidewalk. Due to alleged defect in it, and went through insurance carrier and everything else, but we paid a pretty decent settlement to get that case settled. We don't have that immunity. But you're right, I can remember I think it was one on Campbell Lane, there's one on Fairview. And that's
Russellville Road.
Yeah, and this issue kind of keeps going back and forth. And you're right, it would be nice to get it resolved. I'm not sure I have a real good answer of what that resolution is.
Well, Greg's on our side now. I mean, this is his first meeting. Let's don't be too rough. I mean, he's our man now.
Yeah. Well, I think he's gonna
Gene talked
help.
about the cost. The reason we're doing this program, you got to remember, we still have 20 more years worth of sidewalks that need fixed. 20 more years.
Well, with that said, too, I think it's important to remind our citizens that when these state roads and state projects are done, that's not coming out of the city's funds. We're not building some of those sidewalks out there that people say, well, I can't believe where you're building sidewalks out there on Nashville Road. Who's going to ever walk on those? That's not us. It's not the city.
That's right.
All right, then.
Any other questions?
This is the recommendations for this year, right?
Correct.
Great job, thank
Any
you.
opposition to the projects as presented?
None
Okay,
from
we'll
here.
move forward. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your brief presentation.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Mr. Febo?
With a need for executive session?
And we've already voted on that,
Yep.
so just to remind the public.
No
won't be a
vote required.
coming out. Our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. Please be safe with your fireworks.
And happy 4th of July.
Yeah. Independence Day.
Brent, I can handle it. You can go.